Hey, welcome to the Jennifer O'Brien Show. I'm your host, Jennifer O'Brien. I'm so excited to be going live today and just come on here. I've got a really funny lady that I'm about to bring up here. She is based out of Atlanta and she is comedian Jessica. It's all good. And I'm so excited. She has such an incredible story. She's so much fun as an entertainer. I love watching her on stage. She's captivating. She's fun. She's clean, and she's just high energy. And I think you're going to see how incredible she is. So I am so excited to have her on with me today. And without further ado, let's bring up Jessica. It's all good, Williams. Woo!
Hey, so can I just start with one announcement I've been trying to make out to the public?
Yes.
So a lot of people who've known me for the longest have known me as Jessica's All Good Williams. But
Yes.
ever since I got married and started getting things going, I have taken the Williams off, and now I am Jessica. It's All Good.
Okay, so wait, I have a question. Was Williams your maiden name or is that your married name?
That is my maiden name.
It is your maiden name.
Mhm.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
didn't think
did notice
anybody was
that.
actually going to marry me. So I thought, why don't this would be my stage name? And then I'm like, oh snap, I got married. And on top of that, there's a Jessica Williams comedian who is a Black
Yes.
woman close to my age, way more famous than me. And people actually get us confused. I got a call from New York Times once looking for her because someone I went to
Oh,
college with said that she went to school with him because apparently, I guess he assumed we all look alike.
yeah.
So
How
I've run
rude.
into a lot of issues with the Williams.
So
So
you
it's
dropped it.
yes, I was like, oh, marriage, great escape. So I meant to make a big announcement in 2020, but you remember 2020 was 2020. So yeah,
Yeah, like,
it
did it
just
even
kind of
happen? Did it even happen
did it.
is the question. I don't even know anymore. I don't even know. Okay, yeah, I did notice that when I went to put you in. I was like, "Wait, it's all good." So now I know I will just drop the Williams and it's just Jessica. It's all good. And that is so you to the core. It is all good with you, Jessica.
Thank
So
you.
I just kind of want to get to know who's this Jessica is all good today. And I would love to just hear because you're so funny and I know you do stand up, but I know you've done improv and I know you do MC and DJing and you're just all over because you're such an entertainer, you're such a performer. So I would love to hear how did it even begin for you? So we
Well,
want
that's a great question, and thank you. Yes, I do a lot. Because it turns out bills are totally real. Like they don't go away. One goes away and then a new one comes, and a lot came recently. So
to.
a lot of it does have to do with the being a good, team partner here with my husband and making sure I'm contributing with my entertainment. It's a blessing that I can use entertainment as my actual financial career and livelihood, which of course
Mhm.
last year it got a little fishy. But I didn't come out here with the DJ, the MC, the comedy. I didn't come out here with that in mind. And when I say came out here, came to Atlanta, I
Mhm.
actually came to Atlanta to be an actress because I decided at the age of 12 I was going to be an actress. So I studied acting like towards the end of middle school, high
Mhm.
school, and two different colleges. And about like a semester after graduation, I came out here chasing the dream, fell on my face, tried
Oh,
to leave. God sent me back. He's like, no, I was serious when I said go to Atlanta.
wow.
And then it became a this thing led to that thing. So I did things like teach drama in a lot of different areas and found a steady drama job after being out here for less than a year. And so because of that, I got other little opportunities here and there.
Mhm.
Auditioned, and auditioned. Only got a few small things. Um,
Mhm.
Really got into modeling, which is something I started around 17, 18. And so that would pop in and out. So I got a lot of modeling opportunities when I came out here. By the way, models do not get paid as much as people think unless your name's like
Oh,
Tyra or Giselle or something.
okay.
Yeah.
I,
So,
of course, the female in me is like anything that you're showing up, they're like, I got a modeling gig. Next thing you know, you're like, wait, what's happening here? It's some shady apartment building, and next thing you
oh
know,
yeah, yeah. You
state
definitely had
line.
those moments too.
Yeah. Hmm.
I had to tell a dude about himself when he tried to exchange services. And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I've got a lot of services. I could do that. And he's like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm like, yeah, my directing and my acting and my writing. He's like, well, your other services. I'm like,
Uh-oh.
oh, well, you mean like my behind the scenes stuff, like the stage managing? He's like, well, your body. I'm like,
He's like, behind the scenes, all right. What?
and I didn't even have the words. Like I was not even like it wasn't even scared. It was just offended. I'm like, first of all,
Yeah.
how old is she? Like I turned into like an old country lady, lost all like English, proper English. I'm like, ain't you old? First of all, and he's like, I was
Yeah.
like 23, 24. He's like, I get girls your age all the time. I'm like, well, go get one of them because I'm not the one.
Wow.
So I've had
Wow.
plenty of those shady moments are the things where you think you've got an opportunity and then you get there and no one's there and you're like let me get out of here quickly. So it definitely came with
Wait,
its
it was kind of
struggles.
odd that he told me to come to the dark back alley of this bowling alley rink
Yeah, you're
thing. Yeah.
looking around like,
Yeah.
where's the lights? Do they not believe in lights inside the building? So
I see a
I
light on a video camera, but that's the only light I'm seeing. What's happening here? Yeah. So,
I definitely found
yeah.
myself in some interesting moments. And a lot of people do not know I was actually low key homeless when I first came out here. So
No.
I can't and that was the big falling on my face. Like I lived in an art gallery illegally
Mhm.
for a second. Like the person who owned the gallery basically was hiding me in the attic and I would volunteer at the
Model
gallery.
in the attic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was the
Yeah.
acting model who did some art work, like gave tours and talked to people as a volunteer, so I could stay there. But
Okay.
there wasn't like a bath or a shower in the. There wasn't even a bathroom attached to the art place.
What'd
So
you
if
do for
I
the
want,
potty?
that was where I hit the lowest areas. Oh gosh, I got so depressed about it at times because I'd have to find ways to get a shower. Like we tried to go to an LA Fitness one day and
Wow.
because I had an out of state license, they're like, oh, you can't use this LA Fitness. So I got that shower that one day, but I couldn't come because I was there. But they're like, yeah, you can't use this because like if I just work out, then get a shower. So they're like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you need a Georgia license for LA Fitness. Gotcha. And then a couple of friends, like one of my friends found out because I was very low key. Like if you saw my
Mhm.
Facebook that I was in Atlanta, everybody's like, oh, Jessica's in Atlanta. And they had no idea. So one of my friends called me and found
Mhm.
out what I was going through, got a
Mhm.
friend from Georgia Tech to come pick me up. And this was a guy
Mhm.
I'd never met before, ended up sleeping at Georgia Tech a few times and using his shower. He had like
Okay.
four other roommates who were like, who is this chick in our room? And it's like, hey, I just need a shower. Tried
Yes.
going to a homeless shelter to get a shower, and oh my god, the conditions in those places
Classic,
are
huh?
filthy.
I had no what
Oh yeah.
commitment though, like, look at you
Oh, no,
just,
no, no, no,
like,
no.
going
I was like,
all
"Look,
in.
God, no, 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 hold on now." Some people are
What?
like, all the things I went through, I'm like, "No, God, I give up," because the next step, the last day of that was like, I got kicked out of the gallery, and the next step was to be living in my car. I had an audition, but I'd run down to my last dollar. This really sweet guy had put me in a hotel because another friend found out what I was going through. So one of her
Mhm,
relatives who didn't even know me was like, "Okay, well, I'll take care of her." So he put me in a hotel for 5 days where I
mhm,
cried for like 2.5 of those days, just cried.
mm,
But I had an
mm,
audition, and that was why I was trying to stay. And I
mhm,
looked at my bank account. It was the saddest thing I'd ever seen. I looked at my tank, which he had just filled up, and I had one plate of food left. And it was like, you can go to this audition and then you'll be living in your car and struggling, or you can go to mom and dad's house because I
mhm,
went to school in Charleston. So I left Charleston for Atlanta and my parents
mhm,
lived in Greenville. And I'm like, there's nothing going on in Greenville. I don't want to go back to Greenville. So that day I'm like,
mhm.
I'm going back to Greenville. I didn't even tell
Okay.
anyone I was coming home. My dad came home for work and saw my car. And then he saw me, he came upstairs and saw me laying on the couch, just like done, sad, tired, everything.
Mm,
He's like, you've
mhm,
been through a lot, haven't you? And you could see in his eyes that he could see what I was going through because my parents, I didn't tell them right away, but eventually they found out what I was going through, and they were like, "Jessica,
mhm.
are you sure?" you can come home. And I'm like, no, I'm a big girl. I got this. And then after that, I'm like, look, I quit. I'm coming home.
Yeah.
So I quit. Plenty of people are like, I didn't give up. Head. No, I quit. I said, I'm
Yeah.
done. This is it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna work at Panera Bread because I became obsessed with Panera Bread. And I was trying to get a job at my parents' house. And because I was out of money, I I had nothing to give to my family as this adult after college coming home. So I cooked
Mm.
and cleaned for my parents for almost a month and a half, almost 2 months. And my older
Mhm.
brother was living with them at the time. So I would like give them lunches to go, have wonderful
Okay.
dinners for them. My dad's
Mhm.
like, wow, you're really cooking and cleaning. And if you understood my strong personality as a kid, anytime
Mhm.
my mom was like, Jessica, can you do the dishes? I'm like, but it's not my date. Have you looked at the calendar? Why didn't you ask
Yeah.
my brother? Because I'm a girl. Why do I have to help cook, mom? You didn't ask Joshua, you didn't ask Larkin. So
Yeah.
I
Oh
went
my
from
god.
that to, so what can I do? It was the prodigal son all the way. The I'm so glad to just be
Wow.
back somewhere with a roof over my head.
Wow. So what was that like? I mean, I'm sure it was a relief, like, okay, I've got food and I've got a place to shower and take care of myself. But what was that like on the inside? Did you feel like, man, I just failed? I can't go back. I mean, where were you at with all that?
I will say that when you haven't had like when you have to like wait 3 to 5 days to take a shower,
Hmm.
in which for ladies that is not cool when you have certain women things to deal with. Okay, um,
Sure.
but when you have to, oh, can I wave at people? I see
You can.
Jawan doing. Hey,
Mhm.
okay. So having a shower was just like, because I remember at the hotel crying in the shower because it felt so good to have a consistent shower for a second. But besides that, I felt like a complete failure.
Mhm.
Anyone who knew me knew Jessica had these dreams to go out and do these big things. And here
Mhm.
I am, of course, on social media. It looks great, but it's like, no, it's not.
Mhm.
Um, I gave up my dream and I went back home. Like I gave
Mhm.
up. I'm like, okay, God, I must have done something wrong. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I failed. And that is it. I'll just wait until I can figure it out and get some money. And so
Mhm.
yeah, that it wasn't fun, but it was
Mhm.
a very strong, humbling experience. Again, service. I do believe in serving people, but I don't believe that because I'm a woman, I'm supposed to serve you. I'm like, listen, my people had enough things like slavery, and then all the stuff
Mhm.
that happened after slavery, and then the stuff
Mhm.
that's still happening now. If I don't
Mhm.
have to do those things, that'd be
Mhm.
great. Especially now, I'm like, I've got my own house and my own things to clean. So even at home, my mom knows if I come to visit my parents, if I'm cleaning up, like I'm in a great like helping mood. But
Yeah.
at that time, coming from the strong-willed young daughter with the two brothers who was like, "Don't ask me for anything unless you ask them first," it was a
Mm.
I had so much like feet to eat, um, so many words to swallow, so many
Wow.
words. And it's the I
Wow.
can laugh about it now, but when I tell
Mhm.
you I've never been so not myself. There are people
Yeah.
who met me back in that day that
Mhm.
didn't know who the real Jessica was because a lot of people are like, whoa, we know Jessica's this big, awesome, powerful, effervescent woman. But at that
Mhm.
time, people met like the sad, depressed, scared, and not sure what to do Jessica, the desperate
Mhm.
Jessica. And so
Mhm.
some of those people who saw me go from that, like that's where they met me, to
Mhm.
now they're like, wow, look how you changed. I'm like, oh, no, 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 honey, that I was like this. It was just a
Yeah.
dark time. So don't get it twisted. But
Yeah.
I will say at that time I didn't know what was gonna happen, and I kind of I gave up. I quit, I failed, and I gave up.
Do you feel like a giving up, but was there like a surrenderedness to it that at some point you obviously came back? I mean, what was that? What shifted that you're like, I'm going back. I'm gonna do it again. Like, how did
Well,
that happen?
as I told you, my college town, my second college town was I'm sorry, I've got this one hair and I can't like what is this? It's just
I don't
okay.
I
There. I was just it's bugging me.
Girl,
I
you
haven't
look
had the chance to
good.
get my hair today, so it's like put some stuff in it and it's like what okay,
Mhm.
so what happened?
Mhm.
I mentioned my college town was Charleston, South Carolina. That's where I got
Mhm.
my bachelor's. And I decided to go back to Charleston
Mhm.
because there was a few things there that I guess the few loose ends that weren't tied up. One included the boyfriend who broke up with me in 2008. Um,
Okay.
that relationship really broke me. And
Mm.
when I joke about certain exes in my comedy, that's like the number one ex who like there's a lot of healing that had to be done and forgiveness that had to be done, and I'm still
Okay.
never sure if I've forgiven all the way. Uh,
Okay.
my
Okay.
husband's very aware of this guy. We have some jokes about him, But I went back to see that guy for the last time and kind of
Mhm.
close things out with him.
Okay.
Plus, there was a this church that I gotten involved with for a quick second before I left, and
Mhm.
they wanted to get this whole theater program. And the preacher and his wife was like, "You can come live with us.
Mhm.
We can help you get on, get this opportunity with our church and get more things here." But I already knew things weren't that like busy in Charleston.
Right.
And then I got there, closed the door with that guy, like the final door that I was hoping was still open. And then
Mhm.
the preacher, I feel like I can say this out loud, like, when you hug a woman
Mhm.
in church and you're a man, there's
Mhm.
what we call the deacon hug.
Okay.
I
Break it
don't
down.
think this preacher knew what the deacon hug
That's a
was.
safe side hug, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what we
it's a
call the
you
safe
stick
side
your
hug.
booty out so you don't
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't touch any parts, and you
Right.
lean in and you
No, it's
side
a
hug.
side.
It's
It's
just
a side.
yeah,
You don't get you
you
get a
don't
side
come
hug. Ha
full frontal with a tight hug where you're like sniffing on the
no.
neck. And so
Whoa.
after
Is this
like
a
the
modeling
3rd,
job or is this a deacon? I don't even know.
I'm
What?
like, how did he make it to preacher? But there's a lot of preachers and folks who make it to places. So
Oh.
after like
Mm-mm-mm.
that 3rd hug, I was like
Mhm.
real creeped out and I was like, okay, God, this ain't the
Mm.
one
Was
either.
this the person that's like, "Oh, come stay with us as you get the dr" Oh, mhm.
So imagine going back
God.
to your room after one of those creepy hugs, like,
Wait. Yeah.
and so you
Whoa.
have a few more because you're like, maybe, like it was the creep. I've had many hugs in my life. This was so creepy.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm remembering. I forgot about it. I'm remembering. So I left. I left. I was like, yeah, I'm going back to mom and dad's. So left Charleston and went back to my parents' house again in upstate South Carolina, in Greenville. And so what brought me back to Atlanta? What?
Second time. So you launch one more time. Now you're in Charleston, you're trying to repair a broken relationship, that gets closure.
Mhm.
You're trying to start some drama stuff going with a church. That's so boom, back to parents,
Yeah,
second time.
like, and I was only there, like, 4 or 5 days, and I
Okay,
was like,
this
"Yeah,
second
get out."
time. The
Yeah,
second time you were just like, "Okay, so talk."
okay, alright, God, I'm going back to Greenville. But, going to the College of Charleston, you have a tendency to date people from the Citadel, which is what I did, that was the one I was talking about.
Mhm.
He had a lot of friends in his school that became friends with me, especially the girls. So a lot of people know I'm married to a white man. If they haven't had the chance to do enough digging, you'll find them. But that was
Mhm.
a black boyfriend, and the black
Mhm.
community in Charleston, the College of Charleston and the Citadel were really tight because there weren't a lot of black people there.
Okay.
So my ex-boyfriend was in the black gospel choir that they had, and I
Okay.
made a lot of girlfriends and a few guy friends from that group. One of
Mhm.
those girlfriends was getting ready to move to Korea. She's like, I'm going to teach in Korea. And so she needed to go to the, what do you call that place? That foreign, it's not the embassy, is it? Something in
Mm,
Atlanta that she had to go to help
okay.
get to Korea. And she
Sure.
needed a ride. And if you could have seen my first car, this car, it had an attitude problem. Like it would break
Uh-oh.
down for like a whole month. And then once you got
Right.
it fixed, it's like, "Oh, I'm back," and then it would break down like another 2 or 3 months. Driving that thing in Atlanta streets was, now that was a big risk. That was the test of God. So,
Wow.
so I brought her back to Atlanta, and she's the one who got me involved with the guy from Georgia Tech. So we're staying with him while
Okay.
she goes there, and I'm just like, "I'm just here." And she
Mhm.
was like, you should try to get a job again." And I'm like, "Well, it hadn't gone well for me." And apparently, this show that I had auditioned for, that I
Mhm.
was like, I had auditioned to be a dancer, but I wasn't keeping up with the real dancers. So I gave up, but they gave me another part. But the people, the attitudes were so insane. I
Wow.
quit, but I never told them I quit. So they
Uh-oh.
didn't know I quit. And they're like, "Where have you been?" I'm like, "Oh, I guess I'll come back." So I got back involved with them. I had an interview. It was the worst interview I've ever had in my life. I
Okay.
got the job. I
You
couldn't
did?
believe I got the job. It was a part-time job, but it was enough to come back. And I'm just like, "Oh, I did so bad in that interview. I can't believe the guy hired me." So, after
That's God.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
from God right there. God's like,
I have
"You're coming back."
magnificent favor. I don't know how, because 'cause I'm
Wow.
not the best person in the whole wide world, but the things that God has done for me, it's
Mhm.
crazy. So I came back. I met this woman who I met at another play that, I used to be a praise dancer. So it was a gospel play.
Interpretive dance? Is that
Yes, yes.
interpretive? Ooh.
I don't, I mean, the shoulder thing thing. I don't really know what that interprets, but it was but I did it for my church when I was in high school. I did it for my first college, which was a Methodist college,
Okay.
and then right before I left Charleston, I had one final performance as a with another school that I was working with part time.
Okay.
So the place that I auditioned for as their interpretive dance break, I met this really sweet, adorable, short little actress.
Mhm.
Found out she was way older than me, but she looked so young. That was like a big
Mhm.
deal with her family. But
Yep.
I remember she gave me her number. She's like, "Hey, if you need anything, just give me a call," because she knew I was just visiting.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Well, okay." My mom drove me back to Atlanta to do the performance in that show. So I met her at the audition of meeting the director. I met her again at that show, and that show I think is when I told her, yeah, I just got a job, or I had an interview or training. It was training. I told her I had training,
Mhm.
and she said I could stay with her for training.
Okay.
And then once the training finished, she's like, you can just stay until you find a place. And so this woman who
Oh.
I'd only met twice ended
Mhm.
up taking me in for like 3 or 4 months
Okay.
in her one-bedroom apartment.
Wow.
Didn't even know me and took me in. And
That's nice.
that was just wonderful. Thanks to living where, I was with her, I was
Mhm.
able to find this apartment, this a crazy deal on an apartment, and you know how apartments have certain references?
Mhm.
So it's, "Okay, I've got, like, 3 jobs right now that are gonna disappear in a month." So I was like, "I need to hurry up and get this apartment," and there were
Yes.
all these deals happening, and the way I even got the deals was it was that back when Craigslist was a little safer. I found an advertisement about the apartment, but the internet was bad on my computer, so I just happened to catch internet one day and get the ad, and then it went away.
Oh, okay.
And I got the apartment, and it was like, "All right, I got it, God. Now I need more money because these
Yeah.
jobs are disappearing."
Mhm.
I got 4 different eviction notices while I was living there. So even after not being homeless, I was just, like, skating by the seat of my pants to keep the
Mhm.
apartment. And I remember I would cry every time I got the eviction notice, and by
Mm.
the 4th one, I was like, "You know what, God? I've had 3 of these already, and I'm still here, so
Mhm.
we're just gonna trust you." And so that was the last one I
Mm.
ever got, and things just, moved from there, and of course, you know, you meet people, you get
Mhm.
opportunities. Atlanta is who you know in a lot of ways, so you
Mhm.
might meet someone on this project and then another project, and then you're teaching all of a sudden, and now your rent is covered because you're teaching in that program, but you
Yeah.
still gotta do other things to keep the work. Then you find out you're gonna be a princess and a clown, which you never really thought that was a thing, but then that happens, which is how
Yeah.
that's about the time that happened. And so when I got that job, within about 3 months of doing the princess and clown parties,
Mhm.
and, about a semester of teaching with the theater program, I started finding stability. So,
Mhm.
a lot of people don't know that story. I have told it before.
Yeah.
I used to, like, do a post on December 4th because December 4th was the first day in 2008 I came to Atlanta, and then
Okay.
I got my apartment in April 2009. So, I've been out here for a long time, learning so
Mhm.
many things and
Mhm.
growing. Had no idea that I would be a DJ and a comedian years later, but the thing even an improv actress, I didn't realize that was gonna be a thing for me. Like, there was so much that happened.
So you were more, "Okay, I'm gonna be an actress,
Mhm.
serious roles, drama. I'm just focusing in on
The Jessica who
acting."
came out here
Mhm.
thought she was going to be at the Alliance and the Fox Theater and landing roles in the movies.
Yeah. Beautiful,
Maybe one day.
beautiful. Well, God always has a plan, right? But it's in there, you
Yeah,
know? So tell me, I think you mentioned this, and I wanna hear this story again because you're not even on the path to do, well, I know I've seen you do improv, which you're fabulous, and
thank you.
stand-up, fabulous.
Thank
So
you.
how did you mentioned, like, you weren't even looking to do stand-up, and how did you even get into stand-up?
So, the first college that I had asked me to come give a speech. They were doing this thing like the past, present, and future. So
Mhm.
they got a congresswoman whose father was one of the first students at SMC when it first opened up, Spark Methodist College,
Mhm.
and they wanted her to represent the past. They wanted
Mhm.
somebody who graduated within like the last 10 years, and at that point it was still under 10. Wanted to come and kind of talk about the present, you know, chasing dreams out here in life, and then they had
Mhm.
one of their students represent the future. Now at this
Okay.
point I've been doing improv for a little over a year,
Mhm.
maybe yeah, a little over a year, and one of my fellow actors in that troupe was into stand-up comedy. Never
Mhm.
thought about it, but then I give this speech. The
Yeah.
congresswoman comes up to me and says, "I'm so glad I was before you." After my epic speech that happened,
Mm.
the students and faculty and staff said that they felt like they were listening to a real live comedian. And I thought to myself, yeah, okay, okay, why not? Let's try it.
Yeah.
All I'd done is really talked about chasing the Atlanta actor's dream,
Mhm.
the work as a teacher, the work as a princess and a clown, and all this stuff. And
Mhm.
if you could understand the kinds of things that children say to you when you're a clown or you're a fun after school theater teacher, it
Yeah.
gets insane. So I had these epic stories about my work that had everyone laughing for 25 minutes straight. So I
Wow.
thought that was a 2000 October 2000. Oh my gosh, that's we're coming up on 10 years from that speech.
10
So that was
years.
2011, October 2011. And
Wow.
I came back to Atlanta like, I'm going to be a comedian. And the fellow actor in my improv troupe was like, oh my God, Jessica, you're so funny. That's great. Come with
Mhm.
me. So he took me to like the Laughing Skull and all
Mhm.
these places he'd been going to. And so I spent like about 9 or 10 months just going to comedy shows and watching and thinking, huh. We know how comedy is. People are very vulgar, very rude, very racist, very
Mm.
angry.
Mhm.
I'm a woman, and there's a lot of men in comedy who have a
Mhm.
lot of women that they're angry at. So
Mhm.
we don't even
Mhm.
get called woman. Yeah, my lady, my woman. You get all these other awful names.
Mhm.
I'm black. People love being racist in comedy.
Mhm.
So going
Mhm.
into comedy clubs as a black woman who wasn't scared to sit on the front row, you
Mhm.
definitely had moments where you thought, ugh. And
Yeah.
so, and if they weren't saying something that was awful towards me, they were saying something that's awful towards everyone else. And I've
Yeah.
always been a person that comes from a place of love. So
Mhm.
my thing was, I bet I can do this without the cussing, without the vulgar, without hurting anyone's feelings, and still be funny.
Mhm.
And so that's why I decided to be a clean comedian.
Yeah.
I will say there was one show where there was a lot of cussing going on. I'm like, oh, I can do this. Okay.
Mhm.
I said like two cuss words, and everybody you could tell was like, yeah, that doesn't fit you. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that
Isn't that funny though? Because it is true. It's like you have to be authentically you. And sometimes I want to be that, "Ooh, I want to be edgy. I want to be like, but it's like I am just not, and it just doesn't fit. And I know your personality, it would just be like this contradiction. And
oh,
you're
in
so when you're
conflict.
up there, it's just you. So you can't really hide behind much. So
And
um
I
yeah.
do believe it's a gift from God. Um,
Mhm.
we all have things we need to work on in life, but when He gives you something, you don't really want to like you don't want to tarnish that.
No.
So when I'm on stage, between teaching my kids that you can follow your dreams and you don't have to compromise, between two parents that I'm still scared of, and between my respect for the stage as a former theater person,
Mhm.
um, I can't just go up on stage and do some of these things that some comedians do. And it comes from that background. So
Mhm.
I will always be a clean comedian. That is my goal, and that is what I think God wants me to do anyway. So here I
Yes.
am.
And here
And
you
after my
are 10 years later, still at it. And actually, what's gonna happen this Friday? Tell us about that.
well, the so I say my parents are from Greenville, but we also have a second hometown where we lived for about 10 years in Liberty, South Carolina. You gotta say
Woohoo!
it like that.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
Liberty was that place that we went to where we were like, what happened to all the black people and the red lights? Like, there's no red lights here. So we moved there when I was 10, and that was quite a comical situation in itself. Well,
Yeah.
this Friday, I will be headlining in Liberty, South Carolina, and I am so excited. It feels like this homecoming kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, the memories I get, like when I get to Liberty, I get so excited. And the last time I was there, I was a feature in this particular comedy show.
Yeah.
And I'm like the one comedian who's like, yeah, Liberty. And you can tell you're just like, why? What is
Yeah,
this place?
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I stood right here when I was 11, right
yeah.
in the spot. So, so I'm super pumped. My mom is trying to make it basically a family reunion, which will probably be the most black people to ever grace the streets of Liberty at once.
So they're not gonna know what to do.
I know. Hopefully they'll come. I know I got some of those relatives who don't drive at night, so we'll see what happens. But yeah,
Sundowners is real, man.
You said what?
Sundowners is real.
Yo, there's not a lot of street lights. It's just darkness. Even
Yeah, I
now
might
that
have to,
I'm
like,
coming,
get an Airbnb or get, like, a hotel or something. But
oh,
you
I'm
yeah, go
coming
ahead.
straight back because I'm going to Puerto Rico the next day.
Good girl, you are just go, go, go all
Yeah,
the
I'm tired.
time. So that's exciting. So this is really cool. I love this full circle, just you've been at this and I know I don't want to keep dragging this out, but I just want you to speak into, and I know you touched a little bit as a female, black female comedian, stand-up comedian. Tell me, what is that like now? I know at the beginning you made those decisions to stay clean, to say, "Hey, I can only be authentically me." What is it like now actually working this as a career? You did a special last year. I think it's called "We're All Chocolate,"
Yes.
and that was pretty amazing.
Thank you.
And tell me what's that been like now that this is something you've really, gone for. Tell me the highs and the lows as a performer, as a stand-up comedian.
Well, I will say number one, and I'm just going to say this straight to the camera if I'm looking at the camera, to anyone, which I haven't waxed like my face, so ignore the hairs. To anyone out there who hires like on the level of affirmative action, I know I fit a lot of quotas, like a female and a black person. I just want to thank you. I take
Mhm.
those moments
Mhm,
and I
mhm.
treasure those, and I have no problem being your token black woman in your comedy show. So there.
Hi.
I've definitely so with that note, I've definitely gotten gigs. I know for a fact because of that. Um, I realized that you definitely will find yourself in some shows where you're like the only clean comedian and the
Mhm.
only person that feels extremely unsafe in some of the places you're in. So you're like, let me just sit close to the exit in case anything pops off. I've had those moments. I've had those wonderful moments where, like, oh gosh, I love doing church shows because
Mhm.
you feel a little bit safer in church.
Yeah,
Now, let's be
yeah.
honest, the world's gone mad, so there's no
Oh,
place safe. But
mhm.
I've been in places where fights are about to start off, and most churches don't just have a fight break out in the middle. So that's
No,
nice. Oh yeah,
no.
oh yeah.
That's done
Um,
silently on Sunday mornings in their
yes,
heart,
yes,
in their
yes.
heart.
Now probably via text message. Do you see the hat that she is wearing?
Yeah.
So you have those moments. But the what I love about being a comedian, something about our career instantly
Mhm,
makes people happy.
mhm,
Sometimes also fairly annoying. Like you
mhm,
get the ones who are just like, "You're a comedian? Oh, I can't wait to see you." And then you get the ones who are like, "Oh, you're a comedian? Tell me a joke right
mhm,
now."
mhm.
As in, do
Yeah.
your job for free. So
Yep,
those
yeah,
moments get a little annoying.
yeah.
But there's a certain level of joy, especially because some shows people are so scared that the comedians are going to be mean to them or make fun of
Yes,
you.
yes.
So when it's over, these people come up to me after the show and they're so happy. I
Relieved.
love how you'll tell a story and then people will share their own story. I do
Yeah.
have an entire routine about how pooping in public, not in like in front of people, but like in public restrooms, how that is like the ultimate level of confidence. Have I
Yeah.
reached that level of confidence?
Oh, and
So
okay, I'm
so
I'm going
I
by
get
those
no shame.
eyebrow raises that you have. You
Oh,
have
thank you.
indeed.
I have no shame or inhibitions, and I'm trying to teach the world to do better. And
Yes.
so I've shared stories like this, and people have come up to me and shared their number 2 stories after shows. And
Listen,
that's when
yeah,
when I realized how powerful this is. I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know we were gonna
yeah.
be talking about." Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
then be a comedian.
Come
See,
on, Terry. It's
yeah,
time,
it's
it's
time, it's your
time.
calling. This is your sign.
This is your
But
sign, there
but
it is.
you wanna talk about poop? So, yeah,
So
when
you
you
hear a lot of
finish
poop
your
stories after your show is what you're saying. You're
well,
like,
and which
"Wow,
I haven't done those in ooh, I'm still writing my show for Friday, so I might need to throw that in there. I've
throw
learned
some
don't
poop
do
in
those
there."
shows in, like, restaurants. People get mad. But a lot of people will come up to you after the show and wanna talk about this stuff, and it's so funny because you realize you can tell that they were scared to talk about this, but they come up and like, "Hi, Jessica, I have to tell you about this thing that happened to
Sure.
me one time." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't. Oh, thank you though. Thank you." So
Yeah,
I feel like in a way I'm making the world a better place, at least in the little corners that I get to affect.
yeah.
I really wish some days that I was in that big screen area that I've been chasing what feels like my whole life. but I
Mhm.
also know that there's a time and a place and a season. And what I can say is I haven't gotten to the mountaintop that I've been trying to get to, but I've
Mhm.
gone a lot of places and I've done a lot of things. And I do believe
Mhm.
I've made many people, like thousands and thousands of people, laugh and smile. So I am doing what I'm here for.
Amen. Amen. And so, and okay, hold on. We got Sherry saying one more thing. Anyways, thanks for all you do. I'm supposed to be at work. I feel like I wouldn't be funny on stage. Hey, you don't know until you give it a
That's
shot.
exactly what I was thinking.
There it is. Just,
YOLO.
go
The
for it.
kids still say YOLO. You open your door.
YOLO. Well, you
And
do.
besides,
We do. Why not?
hey, plus you're supposed to be at work right now, so you might get fired soon anyway. So this is a wonderful outlet to just go ahead and I mean just jump out, you know.
Go for
I
it.
lost my job. That's how I ended up homeless. And here
That's
I
right.
am.
Yes, yes. She also says post some of your things. So, and we're going to be wrapping it up here in a minute, but you got to go to Jessica. It's all good. Yeah, .com, right? And that's,
Yes.
you've got wonderful stuff. Lots of videos out there. Make sure you follow Jessica. Go to her fan page on Facebook, Twitter. She's all over.
Yes.
So, just
But
really,
can I just say, if you go to
yes.
my TikTok, it's going to be about the cats. I'm a new cat mom. I got 2 kittens, and I thought TikTok was stupid, but I love putting my cats on there.
You got some fur babies.
One sleeping right over there right now.
Listen, okay. I have a lot of comedy material about my crazy dog. And then this summer we got a kitty cat. And oh my goodness, like I get the fur baby. He's a snuggle bear. And I'm like, I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm definitely becoming a cat person. And I see how people can get multiple cats. And it's just therapy. Like I hold them and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So now I started calling my animals my fur babies in a weird way.
They
It's
are my babies. There are babies. I used to judge people who treated their pets like their
Yes.
children.
Oh, I joke about it all the time, and now I'm like, "It's happening to me. Oh my
I take back
gosh."
every single thing I ever said to anyone or about you behind your back.
Yes, and I'm getting there. I can't say I'm fully there just yet because I don't know if I'm 100% gonna stay here, but yes, all those my joke is Facebook's become like it's almost like the obituaries for pets because all of a sudden you'll be scrolling through and it's like, you see the pet, you see the animal post, and you're like, "Oh, great, Fluffy passed away." Like, some animal has passed away. And I used to kind of joke, nobody laughed at those. No, nobody laughs at my, okay, Jessica, you're not
Uh,
laughing either.
you told me back in May, April.
But
But
now you've been won over by the fur babies. I'm just saying though, once you see that picture of that animal, you know what's coming next if you continue to read the comments, like someone's passed
you're
away.
right. Oh, I've seen those. Yeah, I try not to read those. I just got into this world of like pet mom. I cannot deal. I've had friends who've lost their cats in the past,
Mhm.
and as a non-cat owner, I'm like, oh, honey, I'm sorry. Now I'm like, oh my god, this can happen, and they don't live long. So I am
Yeah,
trying not to think about that. I've
don't
already
even
figured
go
out what
there.
age I could be, and I'm like, nope, nope, we're not gonna think about that. These are my babies. They'll live forever.
There it is. Okay, stay in denial. That's a great place to
Hey,
be.
it is a
Right?
wonderful place to hang out.
All right, so, and we're gonna close it up here in just a moment. One last question. What's been the biggest highlight for you so far in this long career of acting, modeling, comedy, improv, stand-up, clown, princess? I want just is there one big highlight that stands out? And it could just be multiple things that just the people you meet along the way. I
So
know
I can
when I
include the
see
people I meet.
because I see you in action. I've been to several shows. I've seen you, and it just seems like for me, just from an outsider looking in, it's always the people when I see you interacting. You leave that room better than you found it. But I want to hear from you. What is that thing that you're like, this is why I do it. This is why I keep going.
Well, may I give you 2 things? Because
Yes.
this is why I do it. There's the person that affects me the most. I think the biggest thing, the happiest thing that's ever happened is I got married. Um, I
Mhm.
never thought as the independent single woman, I never thought I'd be oh, me and my husband. But
Aw.
I really, really thought I was gonna be single for a long time. I dated a lot of people because I enjoy free food, but meeting that guy who
Yeah.
accepts you for you, especially a woman in this entertainment career. Now
Mhm.
I'm like, how did I do this without you? He is extremely supportive, from
Mhm.
carrying my heavy stuff with my DJ equipment when we first started dating to coming to as many shows as he could and giving me feedback and reading the audience for me. To
Mm.
ironing my clothes. Yeah, I can't iron good. I can barely say the word iron. I've always struggled with IRON my whole life.
Um,
And I have to stop to think of how I'm going to say it. Like
yeah.
Zach will handle my clothes and
Mm.
polish my shoes and get the scuff marks off my Converses. So
Love
when
that.
I look at where I could have been, there are comedians I've met back in the day who have gone all the way to the next level, and I
Mhm.
thought, God, why haven't I gotten there? And then I remember, oh, that's when I met Zach. And while some people think it's over when you get married, I had to take time to focus on this family thing,
Mhm.
and I do not regret it. Um,
Amen.
Especially when this pandemic happened and then realized that I thought my career was over, like many of us, the
Mhm.
knowing that I had my right person was everything. So
Mm.
without him, I really don't know I mean, I was doing a lot, but I don't remember before him very well. So
Yeah.
there's that. And then I'm an extreme extrovert and I feed off of people.
Mhm.
If there's a kryptonite for Superman, the opposite of kryptonite, that would be like laughter for me.
Okay.
So I need laughter. I need to make people happy. And it's not
Mhm.
like that people pleasing kind of way. It's just knowing that you left a positive mark on this world. And I don't mean that
Mhm.
like in a COVID kind of way. You got to be careful when you say positive. You
Yeah.
know, things have changed. But when people come up to you and they say things like, I wasn't going to come to this show today because I had this happen. I've had people who've come to my show after funerals and who said
Mm.
things like, I was going to stay home, I lost such and such. Even at my restaurant where I host karaoke, there
Mhm.
are people who say things like, this was a hard trip for me, these things have happened, I'm here to lay my brother to rest. I've had that one.
Mm.
I had the gentleman who told me this would be my last time celebrating my daughter's birthday, so we're giving her a sweet 15 because I can't give her a sweet 16. Thank you.
Oh,
Like
oh my gosh.
those moments, you don't even, I'm like, I'm
Wow.
literally just playing around. But
Ooh.
when you
Mm.
make people so
Mhm.
happy that they
Yeah.
know you've helped me in my last days be able to celebrate, or you helped
Mm.
me deal with this hard time I'm going through,
Yeah.
it is the reason to keep going.
That's
So
awesome.
I
Yeah.
and I don't stop to think about these a lot. And there's been so much
Mhm.
going on. So I'm just like, oh my God, oh that's right. I changed lives. So
Yeah.
so it is
Yeah.
a blessing to be able to
Mm.
do that. And it is a reason to keep going. And for anyone who's out there doing amazing positive things for the world, you have days you don't realize how much you're doing certain
Mhm.
things. Keep going. One day you'll know. And maybe one day you'll never know quite everything you've done. But
Mhm.
when you get just a little glimpse, just a little ray of the light that you've been able to share,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful, powerful, amazing, life-changing thing. And that is why I keep doing it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you're doing this, and you're so much fun to be around on stage, off a stage. You have that contagious kind of love and energy that just changes the mood of a room. So I
Thank you,
appreciate your
Jennifer.
light. Hold on, we got one last comment. Let's see. We said my family laughed at me choking on a meatball, and I had to give myself the Heimlich because my family typically was so preoccupied they didn't notice till. Okay, so there you go. Sometimes you
Um,
have to give yourself the Heimlich, Sherry, and that's
that
we'll get
sounds
some
like
material on that.
and
We
some
we
counseling,
I
and
was
some
gonna
counseling, 'cause
say,
I
on
already did
top
it
of
with my
comedy,
family.
let's get some counseling, which a lot of people say, stand up is free therapy. What
It
was your
is.
first gig? Okay, so just we're gonna close it out real quick. What was that first gig of yours that you said you went with a friend to some of these open mics most likely and probably
So the
popped
first
on?
official gig was September 22nd, 2012. Somebody that knew someone that I knew was having a show, and
Mhm.
they met me through this person and found out I was starting my comedy career. And they asked me if I would do stand-up comedy for them for their event. So that was off Decatur Street, downtown Atlanta, at a coffee shop. I think I remember. I don't want to say the name because I might mess it up, but it was at a coffee shop for this gentleman who used to be a radio host, and I did 10 minutes and it went very
Your
well.
first
Very first
time?
time,
Oh
very
gosh,
well.
10
Yes.
minutes.
I
Wow, you
actually
go.
I came out the door running, like,
You did. You
yeah.
go. Well, that's exciting. Well, make sure if you're watching today to check out Jessica. It's all good and just see where she's performing next. She's got some local showrooms that she does here around the metro Atlanta area. And she's always DJing and just sharing the light wherever she goes. So just check out her website. And I'll eventually learn how to put stuff like that up. I don't know how to do that just yet. But thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you
And
for
thank you
having me,
all.
Jennifer.
And thanks so much for all those that tuned in. And hopefully we'll get to do this again soon sometime. All right. And we
All
are
right.
out.
All